Hello, faithful viewers, and welcome to another Transformers review. Now, you might have noticed something different this time around, that being, I'm not the normal guy. Hi, guest speaker, moving on. This time, we're looking at the Legacy G2 Laser Optimus Prime. Prime here transforms into a black and red Western Star oil tanker. Black being the primary colour and red being present in the flames, which they decided to lift from the Bayverse design, I believe, in contrast to whatever they had going on with the original. Translucent windows make up the cab. There's no interior to be seen, but there are just red pieces of the robot mode visible. He doesn't roll very smoothly, bless him. Only maybe 2 sets of his wheels tend to move at a time in a pace that I would generously describe as hot jammy. Instead of his usual trailer, the G2 design has the honour of having an oil tanker carrying the very precious modern commodity of blue translucent plastic. It is simply a case of opening it up and splitting it wide open, like so. And here we have Laser Prime's trademark laser weaponry, an Energon sword and an Energon shield, or axe, and I should say. It's not my fault, kind of looks like a shield. Both made of a rather nice looking translucent blue plastic. Moving on to the tanker itself, its transformation goes on slightly further. Flip this around and you have a turret. It's okay looking. It's not how I would imagine a turret appearing, but it rotates, has the obligatory Optimus Prime trailer arm for some reason. This is the justification for maybe a third of this figure's price. And for what it's worth, I am okay with that. For alternative weapon storage, on the back of the cab, we have the axe going on the top side of the truck cab and the sword going on the underside. Just kind of snaps in and out of there. This figure can be a little bit hard to handle at times. It's got some quite tight joints, and frankly I was afraid of breaking it a couple of times when I was transforming it, as afraid as you'd be of anything that you paid 60 quid for. Moving on to the transformation, what you want to do is start by yanking these little arms out of here and flipping up the tabs that were keeping them in place so that they fold into the back of the truck. Push these little oil tanks into the legs. Now, after that, you want to give this top bit a good yank so it pulls out of there. And now here's the tricky part. Well, for a start, pull these little flaps up like so. And then very painstakingly navigate the hands out of there, which is what I would say if I had not just remembered that there is a much easier way to do this, which I am now going to show you. So you want to skip ahead in the transformation a bit by splitting the front apart like so, and push this little bit out a bit. Disconnect the waist to a point. Flipping that out, real tight joint, so don't be afraid to push hard unless you're worried about snapping it, in which case, fair enough. And you just want to kind of scoop-a-doop this out of here. There we go. There we go. Let's just consider that done, shall we? You want to just carefully navigate the arms out of their little safe space in the cab, like this. With the, okay, it doesn't say it in the instructions. I just want to point that out for the record. But once this is flipped out, they have so much more clearance. It's actually redonkulous. Flip this out, forming an iconic but very, very fake truck cab face for the chest. Then you kind of painstakingly put the body together by flipping these former flaps of the vehicle mode up like this, pushing the rest of it up to gain a bit of clearance, and then back down again until they kind of click into place, allowing you to bring the chest down and click that into place, and the arms all around the rest of the way. So we've now got a cohesive upper body. And with the most difficult parts of the transformation out of the way, I'm just going to speedrun you through the rest of it now. Twist around his thunder thighs and flip out his feet. His head, poking out there, is flipped out and brought to the neck that way. The hands are tucked away quite cleverly. You pull the panels open from the arm and you extract the hand, much like one extracts the meat from a clam they find on the beach, to give you a colourful example. And then, with all of that in place, you just want to flip the shoulders up like so on a bit of a double hinge and settle them like this. And like that, you have Generation 2, Optimus Prime, parting his legs slightly, because I forgot to do that earlier, in all of his glory. So, in robot mode, he is quite the broad baby, with two massive shoulder struts, thanks to the front end of his cab resting on them like Armada Megatron's treads. Now, we have a semi-classic style Optimus Prime head. I imagine that a good majority will recognize it from the 2001 RID Car Robots anime series. In fact, his entire design was lifted from G2 and remade into the character of Scourge, which was my first exposure to this design. It's frankly still kind of jarring seeing this as Optimus. Otherwise, he retains his iconic, very simple G1 style window chest, even if it is fake. Now, behind these windows, we can see the very visible matrix of leadership, which I'm just going to open up the panels for to give you a good frontal view of the asset that is the matrix of leadership, which is actually kind of a tiny thing for this figure. And behind the panels on the shoulder, we have the aforementioned earlier namesake lasers of Laser Prime. I would imagine that they're lasers, but who knows? Hasbro's weird sometimes. Now, in regards to weapons, his sword and axe both just have a way of slipping into his hand. It's a bit of a tight fit and you have to get the right angle for it. But once they're in there, they actually sit rather snugly, like so. The joint is so tight, in fact, like even more so for the axe. But I gaslit myself into thinking that the weapons were like locked to specific hands at first. That's how tight we're talking. However, the weapons have yet another feature. They can form together to create what my producers are insisting I refer to as a lance, but let's face it, this joke writes itself. And he can hold it in either hand, as it is essentially just the axe with the sword on the end of it.
Hey, it's me, the usual guy, covering articulation. So, for articulation, Prime can rotate his head 360 degrees. It's on a very tight ball joint, though, which is a bit concerning. He'll look up only about that far, but you'll notice that that plate does tend to disconnect itself, so it gives the illusion of great articulation when it's actually capable of. Then he can bend his head down about that far as well. He can spread his arms out about that far, and he's got the Armada Megatron syndrome of his shoulder struts. For the moving it forward, though, you can lift those flaps up and out of the way, and that means he can lift his arms up at a 90-degree angle that way. He can rotate from 360 at the mushroom pegs in the bicep, and he's got 90-degree of bend at the elbow. At the wrists, he's got 360 degrees of rotation as well. He's got no ab crunch of any kind, but he does have 360 rotation at the waist. He's got an impressive forward kick. He's got an impressive back kick, and he's got a beautiful spread. He can rotate 360 at the thigh. He's got an over 90 degrees of knee bend, and then at the feet he's got up and down wiggle waggle at the toes with incredibly stiff screws by the looks of things. His heels also can go up and down, and he's got the ankle rocker, which is common piece in all Transformers nowadays. So overall articulation, as you would expect of a modern figure, is very good indeed.
So for comparison, here we have Laser Prime alongside Studio Series knockoff Optimus Prime, fellow Legacy Series Big Shoulders Armada Megatron, who really does kind of look like a sibling with him when framed together like this, and the Marvel Legends Far From Home Quentin Mysterio Beck. So all in all, I think Laser Prime is a genuinely good figure. I do tend not to favour figures that have fake chests, but in regards to just the design philosophy of this figure, I'd say that I am willing to make an exception in this case. And to be honest, the grill at least has a placement that kind of gives it some symmetry with the IRL grill on the figure anyway. So again, willing to excuse that part. I just think he looks like a really good figure. He's got lots of panel lining on him, so you can give him a good display like this with the matrix chamber open and the laser cannons and all of his laser weaponry. And considering that you get the trailer with him, which any enjoyers of the more expensive or masterpiece figures can attest to, the trailer usually marks up a markedly higher price. So I would say that him being on the same par as any of the admittedly also overpriced Legacy Commander class figures, it's actually rather good. Personally, if I were given the choice, I think I would have preferred to get the Scourge variation of it, because that was my primary exposure to this build. But I like him. I like the almost kind of missing link look that he has between his movie counterparts due to the build of the type of truck that he is, and the flames were a nice touch as well that they made specifically for the Legacy version. And other than that, I'd say that he's definitely just worth a pickup if you prefer the Optimus version over the Scourge version, to each their own. And also, he looks good posed next to Armada Megatron. I don't know what else to say. He's the closest we had on hand to a G2 Megatron. Maybe it's just the big shoulder pads, but they just stack up against each other so well. Anyway, on that note, thank you everyone so much for stopping by and checking out this video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video around to help out the channel. And until we meet the next time, see y'all later.